Presented by Syntax Advisors.
Welcome to ETF TV News, the weekly show that provides updates on new listings and other events that have happened in the global ETF industry. I'm Deborah Fuhr. Joining me today is Eid Tucci, Portfolio Manager of Itaú Asset Management in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Welcome, Eid.
Thank you, Debbie.
So last week you listed two ETFs on the exchange called B3, which is the exchange in Brazil. Can you tell us about those products?
We are involved on the ETF scene back in 2004, and since then we've been expanding our shelf of products, having a complete set of ETFs regarding broad indices, sectorials, and also fixed income ETFs covering real rates and nominal rates. And after all this journey, we start to realize that, okay, we need to address the demand for international exposure, for the diversification in the portfolios that we are seeing from the local investors. So studying other markets and doing a lot of research, we find that thematic investment was our answer because it's a multi-sector, straight, transparent, and based on future scenarios. So last week, we launched two ETFs, as you just said, the MILL11, the MIL11, which tracks companies that engage with the millennials. It's a generation that it's becoming more wealthy and hence shaping the way that we consume products and services. So we are talking about companies like NVIDIA, PayPal, Walt Disney, Comcast, Netflix. So it's a very diversified set of companies. Then we brought the DNA11, DNA11, which tracks companies related with genomic R&D business. Again, it's a very, very efficient way to express our investment case. So we are looking into the future.
That's great. And both of the indices are created by MSCI. Can you tell us about the types of investors that you think will use these products and how they'll use them?
From institutional to retail and also hedge funds, being long or short, we are very excited to offer to all types of clients because it's an efficient way to diversify the portfolio and get also international exposure in themes that are impacting our day by day and shaping our future. So in the end, we are talking about mega trends, and everybody needs at least to get sense of those mega trends.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about how the investments have changed in Brazil.
Well, once the investment theme became a priority, as we don't have the CDI asset class anymore, everybody starts to looking how I can build a portfolio aligned with my investment objectives. So transparency, agility, cost efficiency relies on the ETF. So we are very happy to have a complete set of ETFs, but also we do need to rely also on the educational angle of these aspects because you need to educate the investors to build an efficient portfolio using the ETFs as a building blocks.
What is your outlook for the rest of the year?
Well, definitely it's growth, growth, growth. We've experienced an increase of users of ETF, but it's still a tiny industry. You are talking about here, ballpark $9 billion. And when you compare with the total industry of financial services in Brazil, this is zero, So we do need to bring, again, the educational angle to the table to provide support in a sustainable way for our investors to use the ETFs as a building blocks. So growth, 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 definitely.
Well, that's great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you all.
So as you heard from Eid, the ETF industry in Brazil is about $9 trillion US. One of the new things that has come to market, which allows foreign ETF issuers to bring products to Brazil, is ETF BDRs. So the first product for launch last November. As of the end of May, we now have 66 Brazilian ETF BDRs. If you compare that to the local products, there's 35 local ETFs. The assets are primarily in the ETFs, but the BDRs now have 460 million. And we can see the number of investors that hold the specific ETFs, and that number continues to rise. In other news, we saw that last week we had 58 new listings of products. This is a pretty high week. There were 128 new cross listings, which is also a pretty high week compared to earlier weeks in the year. When we look at things that were significant last week, I think dimensional fund advisors converting 4 mutual funds into ETFs is probably the top news. Those mutual funds had $29 billion in assets, They are transparent, active, and they do expect to bring other products to market. So I think we will see further conversions happening. I also think that as Vanguard's patent goes away in 2022, we're likely to see asset managers have share classes that are ETFs, allows them to keep mutual funds and offer ETFs at the same time. In other news, we've seen that the flows through the end of May, active ETFs have taken in 74 billion. All of last year was just over 91 billion. So we're on a very strong course at 5 months into the year. Smart beta is also doing well, as is thematic and ESG. And to wrap up, Syntex, which is the sponsor of the show, brought to market their 5th ETF, which is a stratified US total market hedged ETF. They have partnered with Swan Global Investments. It's using put options to create risk-managed growth strategies. Thank you to our sponsor, Syntex Advisors. Thank you to Eid for joining us, and thank you for watching. For further episodes, go to etftv.net. Thank you.
ETF TV News does not provide investment advice nor recommend products.